Welcome to today's podcast. Today I have a guest, Rav Benji Elson, author of the book Dance with the Omer, an incredible Kabbalistic guide to the Omer, which is the process of changing, transformation, liberation. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Hello,
This
everyone.
class is sponsored in Emerita via Yukatel Yehuda ben Mordechai Gedale and Rachel Brown Matchmaking. Also, class is sponsored in the Schutu B'Lisheva Namag, Gadiyel B'Lisheva, Emer B'Lisheva, Shefa B'Lisheva, Reda Malkav Tovasha, and Gadiyel B'Lisheva. Also this week, we also have Friday, we have Joey Rosenfeld as a guest. So there's Rat Hashem. We're importing a guest. Miami, we can't find that many. So we have to import them and pay the tariffs, I guess. All right.
The rental car fee. It's
Good. Well, you forward it to my nonprofit. Welcome, Rabbi. Welcome. I loved what you did with these teachings. I love how you went through the 49 days and how you really went through it in detail. Tell us a little bit how you got into this journey.
Yeah. So I grew up in Passaic, New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in the yeshivish world, and already in high school I was getting disenfranchised, I think is the word, or disenchanted.
Right.
And I decided that Judaism wasn't the valid spiritual path for me, at least in the world that I was in and what I was learning.
Mm.
So I got into meditation, into Buddhism, into Hinduism, and the only thing I wanted to do at the end of high school was to go to India, to ashrams, to meditate. So I did that, and profound experiences there in India. Long story. I ended up in Israel, and was introduced to a totally different Judaism than what I grew up in. Learning basic Kabalah, basic Hasidus, learned about the Svirot, and met people that were not just talking about what God said to do, but who is God, what is God, how do we connect, deep conversations about that. So that was 20 years ago.
Amazing. You were in the Ram Dass area.
Right. Yeah.
By the way, Ram Dass means great Das. I mean, at the end of the day, it's all from the same source. At the end of the day. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. So
Beautiful.
So it's been a journey since then.
I mean, give me a little bit about what happened with the India experience and what you got out of that. Not that we're promoting anybody to go to India,
right? But
just
people
the
have
concepts
journeys.
of people why people go to India.
Yeah. So India itself is very chaotic, and I think just landing in India, it shakes everything up. It's kind of like going to Israel.
Right.
It's uncomfortable. It's difficult. It's loud. It's a lot of energy, and it forces you to go deep. It forces you to discover different parts of yourself. And then, of course, there's many ashrams, many people doing deep work. And for me, at least, like a lot of people that are Baal Teshuvas say that they can't use the term God.
Right.
There's triggers with it. There's different connotations. For me, for many years, I couldn't use the word Hashem. Baal Teshuvas love the word Hashem because it's like, wow, it's new. So for me, where I was coming from, the spirituality without the baggage and different things was more accessible for me. And that's in a nutshell.
It's just amazing how it's either people go in that route, or they go into sometimes substances. But it's just dealing with sometimes when we can't deal with balance in life. We can't deal with limits. And sometimes when you're learning, Judaism with fear, with religion only, it seems to be very contained. And anybody that has a chaotic soul, the soul of Tohu, that environment just doesn't work.
Right.
So something has to break. And they end up reconnecting, but they reconnect with love through Rav Kook, through Rav Nachman. And it seems to be exactly, every single person has gone through the same journey, whether one's addictions, one's India.
Right.
But it seems to be that these kind of souls, you have to really, really pay attention to yourself and what you need in life.
Right.
And reconnect at a higher level.
Rav Kook famously said, that there's two kinds of souls in the world. There's the souls of Tikkun and the souls of Tohu, of chaos.
Right.
And he says that the souls of chaos actually are higher.
Right. But more chances of destruction also.
Right. Exactly.
Right. So Rav Kook speaks about this two types of souls. And that's what's very, very important. I would say the English version is an addictive personality. A person has an addictive personality, a person that cannot handle rest, a little Moroccan energy, I would say. Rest for them is not rest.
Right.
They have to always go to new bounds, go to new hit new areas. They're not satisfied with life on life's terms.
Right, and it's like there must be something deeper, like the structure, the world of Tikkun that we live in. There must be something deeper. So the souls of chaos want to break that up and and Rav Kook says that ultimately to put it back together on a higher level of Tikkun.
On a higher level. Wow, beautiful. Just to understand that, it's so beautiful. Just to I don't think people explain that. Today sometimes they'll stick a kid in school. This is where you belong. And if he's not learning, he's no good. I mean, it's just people that we lack, I think, the ability to understand the specific soul today. And it's so needed.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the month of Cheshvan. I'm sure people have gotten already the preview of it. I know I have.
Have you given a talk?
I have not given a talk on Cheshvan. That's tomorrow. But Cheshvan is, as soon as we announce on Shabbat that Cheshvan is coming, it's already everything. His stomach starts to hurt, body tenses up, and everything. And I'm like, guys, welcome to living like me every day for 1 month.
Yeah. Okay, so Cheshvan is actually one of my favorite months because there's nothing
Going
in it.
deeper, right?
Right. So famously, Cheshvan, there's no holidays, there's no fast days, there's no built-in structure in the way that Elul and Tishrei is. And a lot of people struggle with that, but for me, it's such a gift of a breath of fresh air. So there's a few paradigms maybe that we can talk through about Cheshvan. There's I'll start from the beginning. There's a question that people ask. Every ancient culture has ancient healing art, right? There's Ayurveda, there's yoga, there's shamanistic practices, there's all sorts of different things. Judaism's been around for quite a while, right? So what's our ancient healing art? Anyone have any ideas?
Joy?
Good. A lot of people say that. Yeah, joy, definitely.
Emunah, healing.
So the calendar. The calendar really is the ancient healing art. And when we go through the calendar, we're asked and we're being gifted an opportunity to align with all the different states of consciousness, emotions, ways of showing up in life. Kabbalistically, the different senses, not the 5 Western senses, but they're really ways of interacting and perceiving the world, and more specifically skills. We're being given a certain skill to hone and master, right? So in Kislev, for example, sleep. Right? It's not really a sense, but we're
trusting, letting go.
Right,
yeah.
And to be able to sleep, you need to trust and let go and hope, and smell and laughter and all these different things. So going through the whole calendar, it's a journey of growth, a journey of healing, and Kabbalistically a journey of maturation. And specifically with the senses, with the chushim, there's going from Nisan, which is the first month, all the way to Adar. There's a journey of maturation through the mazalim, through the zodiacs, through the senses, the chushim. And so Adar is the last month of the year, right? So what's the chush of Adar? Laughter. So we see in Judaism, the sign that you've reached true maturity.
I love it.
Is being able to laugh and more specifically be able to play.
Right.
And trauma and people with addiction, they often have a hard time playing, being playful.
They lost the inner child, right,
exactly.
Emotionally stuck.
So
and laughter is also the same value as Or Ein Sof, which is the light of the infinite. So it's Chok is the same value as Or Ein Sof.
Wow.
So at the end of the day, the ultimate letting go is laughter.
Right.
Yeah.
And we see with old people, right? You can have a crotchety old person, or you can have an old person full of laughter and play. And when you look at the two, who's more mature, who's more evolved?
Right.
The person that can laugh and play. So that's where we're with the whole cycle where we're getting to. And where we are now is the sense of the month is smell. It's smell. And so that's one paradigm. The other paradigm through Elul and Tishrei and then to Cheshvan, very famously, it follows the trajectory, the paradigm of a marriage, of an intimate relationship, and it actually starts really with Tu B'Av, right? Where and then ends with the end of Sukkot. So just to go through very very briefly, right? Tu B'Av, dating. Well, actually meeting, right? Getting set up. Maybe it takes a couple of weeks to actually go on a first date.
The modern version would be over in 3 months. So. Right, it would be over in probably Yom Kippur. Okay,
right, exactly. So dating in the Gemara says, right, the
Right.
two most joyous days of the year was Tu B'Av and Yom Kippur, when everyone would go out into the vineyard
Sure.
specifically and meet each other. Then Elul is the dating period.
Right.
Anida Dodi V'Dodi
Preparation.
Preparation. I like to say that Elul is about tshuva, but not really about tshuva, because we have the Seret Yemei Tshuva after Elul, right? So if we have 10 days for tshuva, it's called Seret Yemei Tshuva, then what's Elul for? So I'm writing another book on Elul and Tishrei.
Oh, beautiful.
It'll be out for B'ezrat Hashem for next Elul, about all these ideas. And so Elul is about dating the divine. Dating ourselves, dating the divine, and when we date, we're meant to fall into infatuation. The rest of the year is about falling into deep love and you know, everything that deep real love is. Elul is about falling into infatuation. When we start dating, right, we brush our hair, we take a shower, we put on our best clothes, take out our best personality, right? All these things, we show up in a new, alive way. Then we get to Rosh Hashanah, and Rosh Hashanah is the engagement, right? On Rosh Hashanah, really, not much happens. When you get engaged, there's a whole transformation, but you're not married yet.
Yeah, you're committed now.
You're right, you're committed, but you can still back out. Hopefully not. So Rosh Hashanah is the engagement period, and then Seret Yemei Tshuva, after the engagement period. I don't know if anyone here has experienced it. That's when all the stuff comes up, right? All the last things that need to be fixed. The
thorns before the roses.
Right, the thorns before the roses, exactly. And that's the Seret Yemei Tshuva. So we've like tapped into a new way of being, remembering who we are, Yom HaZikaron, remembering who we are, and then Seret Yemei Tshuva is everything's coming up during those 10 days, and of course the Sfirot align with that, and many different levels over there. Then we get to Yom Kippur, which is the wedding, and a deep cleanse, right? Every wedding has to have a mini Yom Kippur before. Many people fast. You daven, actually, you do vidui on the day of your wedding. You go through the Yom Kippur davening in a little way, and you're committing to this new life. You're committing to this new you. You're committing to this relationship with Hashem, with yourself, with the world. Then after that, you start building your house, right? Those 4 days between Yom Kippur and Sukkot. And then there's the Sheva Brachot of Sukkot. So what happens after that? What happens after Tishrei is done?
Right, the honeymoon's over, right?
The honeymoon's over. So Cheshvan.
I like that. It's a great analogy.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that talk about it, but so the book I'm writing is real in depth, like showing all these things. So what's Cheshvan? Cheshvan, you might be able to say, is the Shana Rishona.
Right, the first year.
The first year, and in that first year, hopefully you're more alive. Hopefully we're all much more alive now after Elul and Tishrei, and interestingly, actually, right, traditionally during the Shana Rishona, you don't have guests. You don't go crazy. You don't have chagim, and you don't have fast days. You don't have all those things that could. You're just there to go deeper and deeper, and specifically pay attention to all the minute details, which is really what Cheshvan is about. So Cheshvan, the word itself, is chush vavnun, chash vavnun. Chush is the senses, and vavnun, right? The vav is connecting heaven to earth.
Right.
A full connected of all of yourself, and then the nun brings it even further down through
right.
all of the worlds. And so one of the offerings of Cheshvan is to turn the ordinary into extraordinary, to pay attention to every little detail that's coming up, and through that process where you are, and go through this very sensitive, soft space. The body part of Cheshvan are the
organs, right?
The organs, the intestines, the dakin, and the dakin, the intestines, are really a lot of the nutrients that we get. Right, the stomach breaks things down, but the intestines are where we actually get most of the nutrients. And so during this month, where there's space to be and see a little bit deeper, to smell, right? Smell is a sense that's deeper than seeing or even hearing. It brings up memories, it brings up thoughts, it brings up
right.
memories of who we are. So
Also intuition, also the sense of in Scorpios of a lot of intuition.
yeah,
They smell it. They already see somebody coming a long time ago.
right.
So that's it's a more powerful intuition.
Yeah. And so with the intestines, we're digesting.
Or like a gut feeling. I have a gut feeling. It makes sense with the intestines.
Yeah. So with the intestines, so we're digesting the last 2 months that we've had to take out all the nutrients, every little, the calcium we need, and the vitamin C, and the vitamin E, and all the things.
Beautiful. Tell me how'd you get into the Sfirot and the time? Who are you more of a Rav Kook follower, Rav Nachman follower? How'd you get into this? Well, how'd your journey start?
The journey with the Sfirot specifically. So after India, I decided that I needed to start over from scratch with Judaism. So I decided to go to Eshet Torah, and in the old city of Jerusalem, and I kind of never left Jerusalem.
Wow.
And there I met amazing teachers, and one of them was Yom Tov Glazer.
Sure.
And I sat in one of his classes, and he talked about the Sfirot, and I was like, "What? What
away.
is this? How in my mid-20s, how come I never heard of this?" So that's how it started, and I went to many different yeshivot and picking up the sparks here and there.
Beautiful.
And
talk about a little bit about the Sfirot and chakras. Like
Right.
we know that it's like there's so much similarity to them both.
Yeah. A lot of people want to know, like, how does it map on? So there is overlap, but they're two different systems. And for me at least, it's not so important to match it completely, because that comes from a culture that is dealing with its own
Sure.
things, and we have our tradition, and it's a different culture. So there's definitely overlap and right, but it doesn't map completely.
Got it. So you've seen it where it has the map completely.
Yeah, because first of all, there's a different amount of chakras and sfirot, and also the chakras have it's a straight line down.
Oh, we're all right.
And we're different parts of the body, different parts of the face, different parts of the soul, all different things. So there's overlap, but for me, it's like, okay, it's kind of like there's the Chinese zodiac, and then there's the Jewish zodiac. We don't usually try to see how they match. They're two different systems.
Talk about how somebody working through his Sfirot can do, what practical advices people could do working with their Sfirot to block. I know if usually it's any work any deal thing I'm dealing with, whether it's where it's too enabling, too much chesed, right? Too restrictive, too strict, too critical, too much to the left, too much gevura.
Right.
Talk a little bit about the practicality of that on a practical level, where a person can see. Huh?
On one leg.
Yeah, well, like just talk about like practicality. I know in relationships it's always usually. I think everything, even politics, it's too much to the right or too much to the left. That's the whole thing in life is to get to tiferet, is to get to harmony.
Right.
I mean, anything I see, even working out. Either you're overworking your body, you need to give a couple of days off just to a little chesed for the body heals the body.
Right.
So I think everything in life is because of our childhood or because of certain drives that we have, we either go too much to the right or too much to the left.
Right.
And I think the Sfirot are good for tweaking and balancing, so you have flow.
Right.
In your own version, how you saw it. I mean, you did a tremendous. I mean, you went so thorough in this book. I mean, you really did. I did my first book. Mine was 400 pages. I don't know how yours was. But you were very thorough. I mean, you were thorough.
Yeah. And also, I put so much in there because I wanted people to come back next year, read it again, and get more. And thank God people share that every year.
It's great. It's great.
So how do we use the Sfirot for growth?
On a practical level,
Yeah.
on your morning prayers, though, how do you have a lot of meditations there in the book.
Yeah.
How do you?
So specifically in Shemona Esrei, famously, and I read about in the book. It's not my idea, of course. It's that each of the brachot in Shemona Esrei are connected to a sfira.
Right.
And on that level, right, we're supposed to, when we align with the sfira, we're meant to help bring it into the world, to channel it into the world. And what does it mean to align with something, right? It means that you have to align with it on all the levels of the soul. So we have nefesh, which is our somatic capacity, paying attention to our bodies and feeling that energy, right? We hopefully all know when we, what is feeling alive feel like? What is feeling tired feel like? What does feeling confident feel like? What is less calm, balance, all those things. Then there's the emotional, the gevura. Then there's the intellectual, cognitive, which is neshama. Then there's the spiritual, which maybe we'd have to define, which is chaya, and then the collective, unconscious, or conscious of yechida. So what I usually do, besides for write books, I'm a psychotherapist. So
beautiful.
I think a lot about that. I deal with trauma, addiction.
So give us some examples of how you would deal with certain patients,
Okay.
based on and how you would see it.
So I'll connect it to what we're talking about here. So one of the, especially for people with emotional regulation challenges, and a lot of people with addiction have that, is a principle called name it to tame it. You heard of this?
Sure, I mentioned it in the class.
Yeah. So name it to tame it, which is really, just by being able to name and label an emotion, and through that really acknowledging and letting it be, it lessens it. It lessens the intensity. So with the Sfirot, right, the Kabbalists gave us an amazing, complex, deep paradigm of our inner world. And the Sfirot, of course, are in our body, in all levels of the soul, within Hashem. And when we're able to name what we're experiencing, name it to tame it, or name it to harness it, just being able to say, okay, that's energy of Gevura, that's an energy of Netzach.
I like that.
We can internalize it.
Like you have to charge that energy. Something the body's weak in that area. It needs strength.
Right.
Beautiful. So you'll and again, so you usually see it, or sometimes people are too hard on themselves, right? So it's a lack of hod, or they don't understand why they fell down.
Right.
Right. So this is more submission, surrender.
Right.
Yeah, I see that also. It's always there's always something. There's a dominant sphera that's always off. And that clog, the problem is if that's clogged, it usually clogs up the whole system.
Right. It's a whole system of flow.
Right. So what happens is heaven will always test you on the same thing over and over. It's actually kindness, because it forces you to pay attention to it. If we don't pay attention to it, then how do we get flow?
Right.
How do we get flow?
Right. Exactly.
And obviously the last is the whole vessel is the result of all this inner work is the malchut.
Right.
Which is the prize for all the work at the end of the day.
Right.
Yeah.
And the Rambam famously said, if you have a certain attribute that's too extreme, to go to the other extreme and then come back to the balance. So the Sfirot also are within that structure. If you have too much chesed, go over to Gevur, and then you'll get to Tiferet. If you have too much Netzach, go over to Yehud.
Exactly.
And the whole system is coming to balance. We have Yesod and Malchut, which is in the middle.
Right.
The ultimate is to reach.
Have you ever done? Are you into acupuncture?
I've done it a few times. I'd love to be more into it, but
I think acupuncture is one Kabbalistic experience. They'll ask you how you feel, and they'll usually poke you at certain points, and then you scream at a certain level. Oh, your liver's off. Okay, liver's off. Why am I so angry? I have to work on letting go of this. So I think acupuncture is I come out of acupuncture like a different person.
Wow, amazing.
And it's good because all of the energy, if energy is not flowing, it becomes stagnant. And when it's stagnant, it becomes polluted, and it needs to move. That's why blood and money and Zeus has to move. You need blood flow. Same thing why Rabbi Nachman would advise, if you're feeling down, go exercise, go dance, because you need blood flow. When you have blood flow, you have new thinking, you have new oxygen, etc. The worst, what happens is when we have the stagnation of the blood flow and we just sit and we think, that's when the blood becomes more shchora, becomes black bile, it gets activated. And that's, God forbid, a lot of the depression.
Right. And you're mentioning Chinese medicine. So, famously in Chinese medicine, one of the ways of diagnosing illness is through the pulse.
Exactly. And the tongue, right?
And the tongue. So in Kabbalah, the same
pulses,
thing.
exactly.
Yeah. Right. So in the Zohar, the Ari, and Rabbi Nachman even talks about that people, the Ari, Rav Chaim Vital writes that he would diagnose people's illness by feeling the pulse, and he connects it to the Sfirot actually very beautifully.
Right.
That if it's if the pulse is a little too high, I'm forgetting the exact map, but it's connected to the Nekudot that are connected to the Sfira. So if it's two quick ones, it's Shva. If it's
Right. Every sphere is connected to earth, fire, water, and air. So if there's an imbalance in this certain sphere, there's an imbalance in the water, air, or fire. So you have too much fire. So they'll tell you have too much fire. And then your body will be too hot. So you'll need cold foods. And you'll need to hit the pressure points. This is like a normal thing for me. What's the matter? My mother-in-law's over too much in my house. That's why you're poking me there. Why have this? It's funny because when they poke, I know what I need to let go. But the reason why acupuncture is good is because sometimes this energy just gets trapped in your body, and you need to physically release it to pay attention to it. So then you can pray on it. Sometimes you can't even pray because you're just it's just the body's just stuck.
Right.
So all these systems it's all Kabalah. So Rabbi Nachman, his pulse changed so much. There was a story where they took his pulse and 10 seconds, 20 seconds later, they took his pulse again. He says, "How's it possible? The pulse is changing." Rabbi Nachman was able to recreate himself so much. So the positive thing also about this is about the pulses. That means as soon as you come up with a different mindset and all of a sudden you change your pulse, your energy changes. And your energy changes, your thoughts change, and your thoughts change, your perspective changes. Right. So it also tells us that, I can press the reset button pretty much anytime I want, no matter what I'm going through in my life.
Yeah.
By changing my perspective and changing the way I look at it. Which is amazing.
And I'm thinking it's connecting back to how we started of the souls of tikkun and souls of chaos.
Right.
Sometimes the world of tikkun, it traps our energy.
Exactly.
And we need to break out. We need to have chaos. We need to destroy ourselves even sometimes to feel.
Right.
And to shake it up to get the energy moving.
See, it's a great point you put. Sometimes we need the shake up, and that's another thing which Cheshvan does. It's we're getting this flood of energy. It's I would say Scorpios are tohu souls. I mean, it's tohu. Yeah. It's drama. It's this, but it forces you to move. It forces you to move and create flow.
Right.
Which ultimately you get a bigger vessel at the end of the day.
Yeah, and actually, right before Cheshvan, what did we just do in Sukkot? We spent 7 days shaking.
Shaking, yeah.
Right, we're shaking the lulav, but according to somatic experiencing, which is one of the trauma techniques using the body and mind and soul, the Peter Levine very famously teaches that when an animal is traumatized, it plays dead first, so it goes into shutdown, and then it goes through this shaking process, and it shakes really just convulsive shaking, and through that it releases the trauma. We as humans, our mind sometimes usually is our worst enemy. And we stop that shaking from happening. We for all sorts of reasons, right? And one of the things to do with trauma is to go through that shaking process. And so every year, after we've been real with in Yom Kippur, for 7 days we're shaking. And you could just hold out the lulav and esrog and shake a little bit, or you can really have a full embodied experience of shaking yourself,
right?
And shaking the trauma out of you.
If you don't shake it, somebody else will shake it. Don't worry.
This is why we should do planks. This is why we should all do planks.
Planks is good. Yeah, planks makes you shake, but you in a comfortable position. So that's one of the what other breathing methods do you work with for trauma?
So trauma is I don't love trauma.
Right,
but I love.
You'll get plenty of customers with trauma.
Right, I love working with trauma. I love working with addiction because it touches on every part of a human being, and it's a real privilege to help in whatever way I can put a human being back together. So it's working on relationships, working on emotional regulation, working on trauma, working on life skills, working on all the different things that need to go in. So there's the breathing, there's mindfulness, of course, becoming more aware, which is really what Cheshvan is about.
Right.
It's
going
paying
deeper
attention to being mindful of every little
details,
every little sense and things.
Beautiful.
The specifically also with trauma and addiction are very connected, of course.
Of course.
There's most people, maybe every person that comes to addiction has some sort of trauma. I guess we all have traumas, and on a neuroscience level, what we have to, and this is actually connected to cheshvan in a deep way. We need to be okay with the mundane. We need to be okay with the boring. We need to be okay with feeling down. And so on the way that addiction forms in the brain and the chemistry is the dopamine always wants homeostasis, right? Let me gather my thoughts for a second. Whenever we do something, it causes something in our mind, something in the brain chemistry. When we are seeking after high dopamine release things, which are usually what addictions are connected to, we are kind of, we're talking about balance, right? We are leaning more towards high dopamine levels. The brain always wants to have that homeostasis. So if you go to a high dopamine place over and over and over again, right? You're checking your messages, you're checking your social media, you're in this high state, the brain will take you to the other way. Why does it do that? Because it's actually in the low dopamine levels that motivation happens. So if we were constantly in this, we find with addicts that they're not taking care of their day-to-day life because they're in this high dopamine state. When we're low dopamine, when we feel a lack, when we feel down, when we feel that's when we start being motivated to make changes. And so,
or the opposite, unfortunately.
Right.
Or the opposite.
Or the opposite, but if only if you've now attached your meaning or your identity that like I'm a loser or I'm down or
I mean there's no addiction without low self-esteem.
Right.
So trauma is going to happen to all of us, that's for sure. And the question is do you put it on your head or or is it something to step up? That's really the key. The first key is to really to fix the self-esteem part.
Right.
Because if you take everything personal, you'll always be in trauma.
Right.
And that's unfortunately that's the way you'll see the future also.
Yeah.
So it's very important to realize this is part of your tikkun process. That's why it's so important. Kabalah is so important today. Realizing that there are built-in tikkuns, there are built-in things that we have to go through in this world. And not only that, but we actually signed up for these missions.
Right.
We signed up for these missions. You signed up for whatever you were going to go through. You agreed to it. And now you want to cancel it. That's the problem. and you want to say you want to back out of the contract, and it's really not allowed. You're not really allowed to back out of the contract.
Right. Even if you don't remember signing it.
If you don't remember signing it, exactly. That's why nobody looks at contracts anyway today. That's the problem. We're just excited to get in. Nobody looks at the details. But here's the details, and all of a sudden the details are coming up, and you got to deal with them, and that's what life is. Your attitude of you signed the deal, now make the best of it.
Right. Exactly.
And not only that, God wouldn't give you something you couldn't handle. That's another thing to be important to realize. God will never give you something you can't handle. He'll give you something above your level of understanding. That's why you have to apply faith and you have to rely on Him. But He'll never give you something you can't handle. And that's where people, I think, shut down. I can't handle this. It's too much. I'm out.
Right.
And that's why we need Rabbi Nachman, the Baal Shem. We need this Judaism with sweetness and resilience and warmth and to lift us up, because otherwise, where do you go to?
Right.
Where do you go
to? Exactly. And that's the offering of cheshvan, of being able to be okay with the mundane and boring, which is really where life happens, right? Life is in the details and the mundane.
And the structure, and the discipline. Yeah,
and not getting lost in it. It's like, there's no holidays.
Building rituals, building proper rituals. Not always needing excitement, but also working with, I think Rav Benji speaks about this. He says something very beautiful. He says, the ark, it was a window. It was a light. It's either a window or a diamond. Right? That was one of the things. Was a light a diamond or was it a window? And he said two types of mindsets in life. Do I always need inspiration from outside? Then I'm a window. Do I always need to be encouraged from outside, or do I need the outside to be perfect for me to be activated? Or can I create Can I be a diamond that doesn't need any light? It creates a light of its own. So the diamond has the ability to create light of its own, to be able to be resilient in tough times. And I think that's what Scorpios, they can somehow put the gas when there's no gas in the car. They'll find a way to put gas in.
Yeah.
So that's another thing we have to work on, building more resilience without the conditions looking peachy and cheesy.
Right. And one of the things that I deal with a lot, and to build resilience, we have to separate the emotion from the thought.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
What the research shows is that an emotion really lasts 90 seconds unless we stop it from
Exactly.
going. The Midrash actually says why is the Ruach called Ruach? The five levels of the soul is not actually even Kabbalistic necessarily. It's from the Midrash.
Right.
And the Midrash on Ruach says why is it called Ruach? Because it goes up and comes down.
Right.
The emotions go
Ruach
up and
is a
come
wind.
down.
Right.
And if we don't stop that process, it passes in 90 seconds. The issue usually is that then we attach some sort of identity or thought connected to that emotion, and it's like, oh, because I'm sad, I'm a sad person, I'm depressed, or because of this feeling.
You start rationalizing it.
Right. So to be able to separate those and deal with each by itself is one of the things that we need to learn how to do.
Right. So that helps you with. That's what breathing helps with that, for sure. But at the end of the day, like Rav Kook says, if you go 5 days without a strong prayer, as much as you want to separate your emotions from the body, you start your heart. He says your heart starts becoming a rock, and that's a problem because when your heart becomes a rock, it's very hard to disconnect. Right. You're just so into it, and that's where you Reb Nachman says you have to create thunder. You have to create, water that heart and scream and create some kind of physical, loud prayer, and that will create the release, and then you can go. Oh, I was overthinking this. I was doing this, but I don't see today on a practical level, without a strong prayer, can people get in healthy emotional states?
Right.
I have yet to see that person.
Right.
It's just too many days of resentment, too many days, it just builds up and builds up and builds up. Yes, they'll try mushrooms, maybe that helps to get them going,
Right.
But
also,
you need to microdose on prayer. That's the bottom line. You need to microdose on praying, crying to God, and praying to God.
Right.
This other stuff is okay. It's good. It opens up, and I've seen many times. It's opened up. It gives people light. Okay, but here's it's like the first day of Passover. Here's what your life could look like. Here's what and then go to work at the end of it. Then you got to go to work.
And I've seen so many times it's so easy. There's that opening, but people become addicted to the medicines just as much.
Yeah.
Whether it's ayahuasca, whether it's ketamine, what's going on.
Or I need to go on another trip. You just came back. I mean, that's where the problem is.
Right.
I think it can give you the initial light, but if you don't have strong vessels, that light just shatters the vessel. You become dependent upon it.
Right. What you're saying reminds me of So with Eliyahu Navi, very famously in Tanakh. So he goes into this cave and there's a storm that comes, and it says Lo Beruach Hashem, that Hashem storm came, but Hashem, God wasn't in the storm, and then earthquake came and God wasn't in the earthquake, but that shakeup needed to happen. And then after that, there was a kol demamadaka. There was a soft, still voice, a soft, still presence, and he went out to the cave and met Hashem there. So sometimes there's this shake-up and this thing that needs to happen, but then there's underneath, which is cheshvan, this softness and this stillness that's where...
That it's equanimity, everything's going to be okay, and everything's going to be good.
Right.
And remember, the number one thing we should be focusing on any time we're going through a test is our attitude. That's it. You cannot focus on the conditions because the conditions will change, but they'll usually change once your attitude changes.
Right.
So that's where we have to go in there and say, okay, what's my attitude towards this test? Going with the right attitude. This is a cleansing. This is a blessing. This is part of my tikkun. This is you're building strength. That's always how you label it in the beginning. Usually sets the tone for the test itself. But if there's no label, exactly like you said, there's no label, you just go in there and you're just playing too much defense.
Right, exactly.
So it was so nice having you. We look forward to your new book.
Thank you.
And you really went very thorough in this book. You really went very thorough. I had one page compared to this is a whole different story. But you really went very thorough. And Hashem should bless you. You should continue. Where do you have a podcast? You have a therapy?
I don't have a podcast. I have therapy practice in Israel and also in the States. I do courses. I do a yearly course connected to Sfirat HaOmer, transformational course, also for Elul Tishrei, Jewish meditation mindfulness course.
Where can people reach you?
So email is good, benjielson1@gmail. I guess there's another Benji Elson out there.
Gotcha.
And then my website, you can Google
What's your website?
Benji Elson Therapy,
Benji Elson
Psychotherapy, and you can find me in that way.
Beautiful.
Social media. Mystical Skeptic is
okay. Instagram. Mystical Skeptic. Beautiful.
And you have to. Everyone has to be a mystic, and everyone has to be a skeptic. Not a cynic.
Yes.
But a skeptic.
Yes. Beautiful. Are you a Pisces by any chance?
No, but my moon is Pisces.
Your moon is Pisces. I felt the Pisces energy. Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for having me.
We look forward to your new book, and always a pleasure. It's always nice to have this refreshing conversations with people who've gone to the craziest places and came back with love and see Chassidus the way it is.
Yeah.
We need more of that today.